Hey everyone, welcome to my very first YouTube video. Today I'm going to be getting ready using the Aina and ABH palette. It's my very favorite palette currently, and I'm just going to warn you there are a few technical difficulties throughout this video, which will hopefully be getting fixed in the future. I really have nothing else to say, so let's just jump into it. And that's what I'm going to use. Okay, to start, I'm going to use the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Glotion. I use the shade 901 Fair Glow. I like this because it adds a glow to my skin without making it oily or greasy or anything, which is really important to me because I have oily skin. And then I use the Makeup Forever Mattifying Primer because this is the only primer that I've ever used that actually keeps my makeup in place all day and prevents my skin from getting oily. Other primers I find, like if they're pore minimizing or anything, they just don't prolong my makeup in the same way, and I truly will never use another mattifying primer because this is the best I've ever used in my life. For foundation, I'm going to use the Nars All Day Luminous Weightless Foundation. I use the shade Siberia. This is a really beautiful foundation. It's, I would say, high medium to buildable to full coverage. It's not like super full coverage, which is what I prefer, and I find it dries down really quickly, so I like to work in sections of my face. So I dot the foundation in half of my face first and blend it in, and then do the other half. In a weird order, so I like to let my foundation settle in a bit into my skin, and then I do my brows. So for my brows, I use this really old brush. I think it's an ABH brush, but all of the writing has worn off, so I can't be sure. But I also use the ABH Dipbrow Pomade in the shade Soft Brown. And I don't do anything like overly crazy with my brows. I kind of just fill the shape in. I use the Maybelline Brow Precise Fiber Volumizer. I use the shade Medium Brown, which is not the correct shade for me. I find that I can make it work once I have my full face on, but this is my favorite brow gel ever, and I feel like no one talks about it. It has, like as the name would suggest, fibers in it, but it doesn't make your brows feel thick or crunchy, and it keeps my brow hairs in place literally all day, which I really struggle with because the hairs in my brows just want to grow straight down apparently. Now I'm going to finish the rest of my base. So for concealer, I'm going to use the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer in the shade Swan, and then I pretty much just go in and conceal everything. Okay, so to set my face, I use the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder in the shade 05 Fair. And this is where, if you have dry skin, you're probably going to cry because my powder routine is extensive, but it all comes together in the end. And then I guess I kind of bake with this, but I don't really leave it on for very long. I just put excess powder onto that sponge and then put it under my eyes. On my chin. And on my forehead. And then I don't really let that sit for long at all. I kind of just put it on and immediately brush it away. Then for the rest of my face, I use the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. And I like to use the same sponge that I used for baking underneath my eyes for that. And then I use the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Microfinishing Loose Powder. This is just a little sample that I got at Sephora, but it has lasted me so long. I only use the tiniest amount of this. And if you're gonna be in flash photography, I would not recommend to do this step because it'll cause flashback. That's not a huge issue for me because my entire face is essentially flashback, but I just dust this a tiny amount in my T-zone. So now to move on to my base, I do like to contour because my face is so goddamn square-like that I feel the need to put some definition back. I like to use the Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder in the shade Medium. For bronzer, I'm going to use the Fenty Beauty, what is this? This is the Stalk'r Instant Warmth Bronzer, and I use the shade Inda Sun. And now I'm going to spray my face. This is the Pixi Hydrating Milky Mist. To highlight, I'm going to use the Pixi Glowy Gossamer Duo in the shade Delicate Dew. And I'm just going to mix them together. For blush, I'm going to use the Colourpop and Kathleen Lights blush in the shade I Need Space. And then I also, like my bronzer, I like to go across the bridge of my nose and basically just connect it to where I put the blush in my cheeks. I like to look highly sunburnt at all times. To prime my eyes, I'm going to use the Nars Smudge Proof Eyeshadow Base. This is just clear. So this just prevents my eyeshadow from creasing because I have a lot of issues with that because my eyes are so goddamn hooded. So I zoomed in a bit more so you can see what I'm doing with my eyes, but today I'm going to be using the Jackie Aina and ABH palette. So I'm going to start off with this pink shade called Supreme as my transition shade. I use this just in my upper crease, buffing it almost basically to my brow bone. I'm just using a random fluffy crease brush for this. Then with a Morphe M441, I'm going to take this shade right here, this pinker shade, and I'm just going to put this in my outer corner of my crease. random fluffy brush that had no product on it at all, I'm just going to buff out the edges of that shadow. And then with a slightly smaller brush, this is the Real Techniques Base Shadow Brush. I'm going to use this deep brown shade here called Credit, just in the same places where I put that pinker shade, just a little bit lower and less buffed out. That same Morphe brush that I used for the pinker shade, and I'm just going to blend out Credit. So now I'm going to cut my crease. I'm just going to use the same concealer that I've been using, and I just like to stamp that concealer right on my lash line and then look up. And that kind of creates a guide for where I'm gonna cut my crease. Now on another flat brush, I think this was also from a Naked palette, I'm going to go in with this Shookington, yes, the Shookington shade. I'm going to take it on this flat brush and I'm going to wet it. If we're all being honest with each other, this is just water, not setting spray. And I'm just going to put it right where my concealer begins, like kind of in the middle, right in the middle of my eye. And then with the other side of this flat brush, I'm going to take probably my favorite shade in the entire palette, Zam, right here. And I'm just going to put it right on the very inner corner of my eyes. I'm going to take the pinker shade. This is the brush that came with the palette, and I'm just going to take the stiff end and just stamp that right along my lower lash line. Then I'm going to take the fluffy side of that brush and I'm going to blend it out, taking more of the shade. Then with a Real Techniques accent brush, I'm going to take the same Credit shade and stamp it even like really close to my lashes. take a pencil brush. This is just a random pencil brush. Take a little bit more of that credit shade and blend it into pinker. I'm going to take the same brush that I used for my transition shade, take again the lightest touch of Supreme and dust it right along the edge, but I'm barely touching my skin. And because there's not really a shade light enough for me in the Jackie palette, I'm just going to take the same highlighter, but just the lightest shade. I'm going to take that just on another like little flat brush, and I'm just going to put this on my inner corners and on my brow bone. For my waterline, I'm going to use this Colourpop Creme Gel Liner in the shade Best O. It's basically just an eggplant color. And then I'm going to put on mascara and lashes and liner, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I just put some mascara and lashes on. I used, where is it? The Maybelline Lash Sensational Luscious Full Fan Effect Mascara, and I used the Kiss Shy lashes. They're my favorite drugstore lashes. They're kind of a bit jacked up. It's not my best lash application, but we're just going to ignore that. For my lips, I'm going to use the Colourpop Lippy Pencil in the shade BFF. And then I'm going to use the Maybelline Matte Lipstick in the shade Beige Babe. Okay, and that's it for me today. Thank you for watching. I'm sure you'll see more videos from me soon in the future. Please let me know any suggestions that you have, any pieces of constructive criticism, and I'll see you next time.